Mm.
Okay,
And
so
we
we're up to book.
are,
Yep.
tell us where we are, Kevin.
Okay, book 3, chapter 5, true representation. And next week, for some of you, it's going to be an hour earlier. It's for Patricia and Ruben, but not Samuel.
Yeah, 4:30 on a Friday evening. So they were.
Hey, Kev, what's the page there?
No idea.
Can't see that.
442. 442.
That's in the book. You want the PDF, do you,
Oh,
Cole?
oh,
That would be
That's all
close
right.
enough. And it's chapter 5,
Right.
say?
Yeah, in my PDF, it's 407, but yours might be different to mine.
True representation. Yeah.
What was the title of the chapter?
True
True
representation.
representation.
Chapter 5. This is the dialogues, right?
I don't know. I don't know anything. Kim knows everything.
Hi, Kim.
Morning.
Here we go.
Yes, it's book 3 of the dialogues.
Beautiful.
Book
heard
3,
of treatise.
chapter 5. Yeah.
In my PDF, it's 442. All right.
Okay. Anthony, are you reading today? Because you're first on my screen.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Within this course, your imitation of creation was often spoken of. This was about your ability to remember much of creation in a non-cognitive, intuitive way. It was also about the minor distortions that occurred between this non-cognitive memory and how you acted upon it. Distortions that created major departments from the nature of creation. These distortions occurred as you assigned meaning or truth to things, truly believing in your ability to do so. You thus determined what the world around you was meant to represent. It was in much the same way that the ego came to represent you.
Okay, thanks, Anthea. On next. What we are doing now is returning to its true representation, returning the world to its true representation. As was said in a treatise on the personal self, there is a huge difference between a true representation and a false representation. While the false representation of the ego self led to the world you see, it did not change the truth, but only created illusion. Thus the truth is still available to be seen. Hi Ian, we're up to book 3, chapter 5, true representation. The world without was created as a true representation of the world within. And as you become aware of the truth represented in all that encompasses and surrounds you, the boundaries between the inner and outer world will diminish and eventually cease to be. Let me provide you with an example that illustrates how one aspect of what was created in the pattern of learning, while not being seen in the way it was intended, still represents what is and thus contains all meaning or the truth. Ruben, you're next.
When two bodies join and joy results from this joining, this is form mimic content. Form representing what is. The form was created in order to show, to teach, that joining is the way. Think of the word desire and its association with sex. To desire someone is to desire joining. This desire was created to remind you, to point the way to your true desire or your true identity as a being joined in oneness. This seeking of completion through oneness, this joining is a true representation that shows you the completion does not come of standing alone, but of joining. As love does not come alone, but in relationship. You have determined sex to be the ultimate fulfillment of love and call it making love. If it were painful rather than pleasurable, if you did not lose yourself and experience completion, you will not desire it. Sex experience for this pleasure and completion, regardless of emotional attachment or not attachment, still will produce the desired effect of creating desire for oneness. If you truly saw and understood the body and its acts as representative of truth, you have thought the things you do represent your drives, but they simply represent what was given to help you remember and return to who you truly are. One more. Obviously, as you have been told that the ego has represented a false self, it is possible to misrepresent. But the new world you have entered need not be filled with misrepresentations, for you are cause and effect. It is through the representation of the truth that the false is exposed as nothing. A lie is nothing but a lie. The false is nothing but the false. It does not become something. For in that becoming, it will need to take on the properties of the truth. Think of the ego again as an example here. The ego but seemed to be who you were for a time. Now that you know who you are in truth, the ego does not remain a separate entity with a life of its own. No, the ego is gone because it was a lie. Its exposure to the truth dissolved it. I'm complete. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruben. Paul.
Does it must be now with everything in your world. Everywhere you look, the life of false representation will be exposed and the truth will be represented once again. As was said earlier, this seeing of the truth is the first step, as it is a step necessary for the restoration of divine design. True seeing facilitates the return to what is and we but proceed from this starting point. While you have learned to take judgment from your seeing, this must be re-emphasized now, as you are called to see what you might previously have thought of an inconsequential in the light of truth. Everything given represents the truth.
Mm.
Who's next?
Samuel, you're next.
Five 11.
Yep.
Remember now that you are not called to reinterpret, but to accept revelation. You will not arrive at the truth through thinking about what everything means. This is the old way that led to so much misinterpretation and misrepresentation. Acceptance of what is given is acceptance of what is given. All was given to you to remind you of who you are in the time of learning that is now passing away. Thus, all was given to you to represent what is rather than to be what is. Now, as you join with the truth, your representation in the new time that is before us will be that what is in its representation. Simply put, this means that form will never be all that you are, but will return to being as it was intended and will represent the truth of who you are. This truth representation, being of truth, returns you to the reality of truth where you exist in oneness. Love and the loving patterns given in the time of learning are all that exists in all you see. But what now will become of these patterns are no longer needed as your learning and that of those around you comes to an end. What was created to serve the time of learning, to represent what is and aid you in your return to what is, will become what is once again. What you can see with your body's eyes will not be all that is, but will represent all that is truly. What was made of what was created in order to serve the ego will cease to be, just as the ego has ceased to be. To outline and define the differences between what was created and what was made would be to create a tome of a ton of information. And this is not needed now. The desire for such is a desire to think through once again the meaning of everything and to have a tool to help you do so. This would assume that you are still a learning being and have need of such help. You are no longer a learning being and need not this assistance.
Thanks, Sam. Kim, you're next.
Okay. In this time of Christ, we are not called to recreate the tools of learning, but to allow all that was created to show the way back to self and God, to be what it is in truth. This is the return of love to love. This is acceptance of yourself. What then is the call to creation that has been spoken of? This is the acceptance of the new you. Acceptance that you are going beyond simple recognition, and acceptance of the self as God created the self, to the living of this self in form. This is an acceptance that recognizes that while the self that God created is eternal, and the self of form is ancient as the sea and stars, the elevated self form is new and will create a new world. This is the answer to the question of what is next. If there is nothing to learn, if coursework is behind you and accomplishment is complete, what then are you to do? You are to create in community, in dialogue, in commitment and togetherness. You are to be the living covenant of the new. Okay.
Thanks, Kim. We'll run out of readers, I think. So back to you, Anthea.
Okay. But while this is what awaits you, I am merely answering the questions that remain and that occur as this dialogue proceeds. What I am attempting to answer now is your confusion concerning what is. This is crucial as you learn to accept what is and to deny what is not. While the question of what is not has been answered as fully as is possible, your questions and my answers in regard to what is are somewhat confusing to you, because what is not a constant that can be answered. That you want answers while I tell you to await revelation speaks to the impatience of the human spirit, the longing that has so long gone unfulfilled that now you are close. Now that you are close, you cannot bear to wait another day, another hour. You want release from your prison now, and so you should. Yet what you think imprisons you is also what I am addressing here. Release through death is no longer the answer. Release through life is the answer. Release through resurrection is the answer. You have died to the old, but surely it would seem easier in some ways to have literally died and been released from the prison of the body, the prison of the earth, and your immediate environment, the prison of your mind and the thoughts that so confuse you, the prison of past and future, and a now that isn't changing fast enough to suit the new you whom you have become. This is what we discuss today. We discuss being what you represent in truth. We discuss the elevation of form. And what we have discovered thus far is the acceptance of form as what it is. This is the new reality you have desired, to live as who you are in form, to not wait for death's release, but to find release while still living in form. Thus we begin the true content of the form you occupy. We return the form you occupy to its natural state. Only then can we proceed to creation of the new, because Christ consciousness is consciousness of what is. We begin with what is, with creation as it was created, rather than as you have perceived it to be. From this starting point only can we move forward to the future we create together. Thank you. Thank you.
What I'm revealing to you here is that what once was once a prison may no longer be a prison. If you continue to think of your body as a prison, if you continue to think of your environment, your mind, and time as a prison, how can it exist in perfect harmony with the universe? As you can see, you are now approaching another thought reversal. Fear not that your confusion will last, for with this thought reversal will come your final release. You will soon wonder, if you haven't already, just how it is going to be possible to live as your new life, as your new self, while still in form, while still in a form that seems inconsistent with your being, while still in a form that exists within a form, within a world that seems inconsistent with your being. You will wonder how, if you are done learning, the patterns of learning will change to help you embrace the acceptance of this new time of no time. You will wonder how to live in a time as a being no longer bound by time. And I tell you truly that once acceptance of what is complete, we will go on to these questions of the new, and together we will find the answers. So let today's dialogue serve as a final call, a most emphatic call to acceptance. See the importance of this acceptance to everything that is still to come. Hesitate no longer. Let your willingness exceed your trepidation. No longer wait to be told more before you accept what you have already been told. Do not wait for a grander call before you accept the call that has already sounded in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Let this be the day of your final surrender, the day that will usher in a new day.
Beautiful.
Mm.
Are we ready to go on?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
What's that called?
I just had one thought that I wanted to share that
Yep.
for me is like a game changer. What do you think imprisons you? every sentence, it's a life sentence of as long as you hold on to it. So it's and also to, you know how when we finish, I don't know if you guys have this, but when you finish reading, I always feel like, whoa. And it's almost like I become, there's no thoughts, but there's this experience that takes over. I mean, and it's very subtle, and it could be just that thing, like the mind will rush in and it goes, okay, what's the next thing? Or rather than sitting in the discomfort of this, something's taking you somewhere by reading this text. Like I feel there's this being taken to a different way of being altogether, where it introduces the new you that comes on. It's very subtle. It's way less dense than the body is. And you get that sense of lifting, the elevation of the form. Even the form begins to vibrate differently. It becomes less dense. Thinking is exactly what makes it so solid. To learn to,
when it says,
to park in this place where you just go like, oh, I'm taken into this expansion, which then unites with everything. Because unity is us expanding into everything, becoming one. And it's already happened. It's already happened, but in this reality, it's almost like we still going there and getting used to this exquisite state, which is sometimes like the unbearable lightness of being. That because the body is so dense, it goes like, whoa, this is uncomfortable. But you sit through that discomfort and let it ruin you into existence. Let it ruin you into existence. And sure, we can read on.
Okay, Ruben.
The one thing I would like to suggest, it's a bit racy today, so maybe we just slow down a tiny little bit when you read, so the words have time to sink in deeper than in this sort of like in an avalanche of thoughts. So if you could just slow down a tiny bit. Thank you, guys. Beautiful.
Chapter 6. The body and the elevation of form.
Yeah.
Within the text of the coursework provided, you hear many ideas that either change or reinforce those you already had about yourself. A Course of Love is a teaching text, and the goal of its teaching was stated and restated many times, so that you will not forget the purpose of the learning you were participating in. Eventually, your learning reached an end point as the learning goal of this course was met. And this you were told as well. I say this time to remind you that the time of teaching, like the time of learning, had its place as well as its methods. One of the methods employed by your teacher within the text of your coursework was that of comparison, a method that will be used less and less as the time of learning passes. The thought reversal of which we recently spoke is why I bring this up. During your time of learning, I use a method of comparison. I compare the real to the unreal, the false to the true, fear to love, in order to point out the insanity of your perception and the perfect sanity of the truth. For some of you, the repetition of the properties of the false that aid your learning may not work as a treatment to your acceptance as you cling to ideas concerning false representation, rather than let them go in order to embrace true representation. In the time of learning, you were so entrenched in your false beliefs that their insanity needed to be stated and stated again. But as we enter this new time of elevated form, these same ideas that many of you attach to form rather than to your perception of form must be rejected. This is what I have already spoken of and speak of again as a revisioning of what you believe imprisons you. I'm complete. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruben. Paul, back to you.
This is there again. This is what I already spoken of as, and speak of again as a revisioning of what you believe imprisons you. Even the holy lines can imprison you with a projection of whatever you think it means. While the false representation of the body as the self was almost as detrimental to your learning as the false representation of the ego as the self, the body, given your choice to return to who you truly are, while still in form, continues, while the ego, of course, does not. Your belief in the non-existence of the ego is now total and have brought the freedom of a liberation in which you rejoice. Because when you become indescribably happy for no good reason, your true self is beginning to reveal itself to you in ways in which you will become increasingly aware. As you identify more intimately with the self you truly are, the self of form is likely to grow more and more foreign to you and less comfortable. Wow. Thus, what is required now is a new way of envisioning the body and its services to you. Amazing, huh? Like all that was created for the time of learning, the body was the perfect learning device. Seeing it as such assisted us in bringing upon the end of time of learning. But now your body, your form, must be seen in a new way. It's exciting. And thus, with the new ideas about the body, that we'll begin to find the final thought reversal that will allow you to live in form as who you truly are. Far out, huh?
Ta-da,
Dun, ta-da, ta-da-da-dum, ta-dum. Who's next? Must be Kim now.
Samuel.
What paragraph is that there?
6.6.
6.6. The body, as all else you see among the living, is in fact living. It exists as living form. And so we begin with a distinction between what exists as living form and what exists as inanimate or non-living form.
Inanimate, yeah.
Inanimate or non-living form. While you might think this is as an easily drawn distinction, and it is not perhaps as you have previously seen it. For everything that exists in form is of the same source. Even those things you have not made from nothing. There is not one thing that you have made that does not exist as some variation of what was originally created. Because, and this cannot be repeated enough, creation begins with what is. And so even the creation you have made are only distinct from what was originally created in your perfection of what they are.
Perception.
No, in the perception of what they are, what you have determined they used to be. There is thus truth, or what we might call the seeds of the truly real, or the energy of creation in everything that exists in form. It is your perception of the forms around you as non-living forms that cause them to have rigidity and a particular meaning. But they still are real, even if they are not as they appear to be to the body eyes. What is not real are the things that you have made to represent what is real. Since you didn't understand what it was you were making things to represent. These are the systems we have already spoken of. Systems of justice, systems of government, systems of corporations, the systems of economics and science, the systems, in short, of what you think governs you. Okay.
In one word, they. You know, when we use that word, they did this to us. They are controlling us. They. Yeah.
Right.
And also coming back to the form, what's good to realize that there is only one form appearing as many.
Mm.
You know? It's like, because this and this are two appearing to be two different things, they all form, right? They're one thing, they form. Same as bodies. They appear to be different, but they all one thing, simply form. That kind of changes the perspective. In the release of varieties of forms. Makes sense?
Mm.
Okay, who's next, Kim?
Kim? Yep.
Okay. In the Bible, there are many stories about miracles, both before and after the time in which I lived. If you were to pose to a scientist whether or not these miracles were possible, they would tell you of all the laws of science that would be opposed to them occurring. You would be told that if the sun had stood still, galactic catastrophes would have resulted, that there are reasons Noah's flood could not have occurred as described, or that it would have been impossible to repopulate the earth afterwards, even if it had taken place as described. What these laws of science do not take into account are the laws of God. Although science is beginning to see much as it truly is, scientists still look for natural laws that govern what is in an if this then that world. This same kind of attitude still governs your ideas about the body and the systems of the world in which you exist. If you are no longer living in an if this then that world, then the same laws will naturally not apply. You developed an if this then that world because it was the easiest way in which to learn. It was the easiest way in which to learn because it seemed to provide proof. Yet, if science teaches anything, it teaches that what is proven can be disproved, and often is. Thus, the prayer of the Native Americans, who thank the sun for rising each day, is a prayer that acknowledges that the sun may not rise. This is not a doomsday attitude, but an attitude that accepts that scientific or natural law and the law of spirit are not the same. Ooh.
Thanks, Kim. Back to you, Anthea.
Right. There are many stories in many cultures that celebrate and bear witness to the happenings that reveal that the laws of spirit and the laws of man coexist. Yes, there are natural laws, but these natural laws are not the sets of facts you have defined them to be, but rather a staggering series of relationships without end, relationships that exist in harmony and cooperation. This is a harmony and cooperation that might one day extend to the sun, and a demonstration that the sun need not rise, or perhaps need not set, and the earth would still be safely spinning in its orbit. Now, if this were to happen, scientists would quickly determine the existence of a natural law that allowed this event to happen. It would require the reworking of many previously known scientific facts, but this would not prevent them from discovering new scientific facts. I mean no disrespect to scientists, and bless them for their desire to find the truth, as you should bless them for the certainty they have given you in an uncertain world. Even if it has been a false certainty, it served a great purpose in the time of learning. Discovery has been a grand facilitator of the human spirit's quest for the truth, and is part of what brought you finally to the quest to know yourself. Thank you.
I am calling all of this to mind in order to begin our discussion concerning the suspension of belief. If you continue into the new with your old ideas about your body, the old body will be what you carry into the new with you. So let us begin with the suspension of belief in what you think you know about the body, in what science would tell you about the body, in what you have experienced as a body. A suspension of belief that comes in the same spirit as that of the Native American, who knows that the sun may rise and may set, but also knows that it may not. I am speaking of a spirit that is open to the discovery of something new and unbelievable, and even scientifically impossible, as well as to the creation of something new. For this is the time of revelation.
For in this time.
For in this time, for in this time of revelation, discovery is a new divine pattern that will replace the thought systems we have spoken of. To discover is simply to find out what you did not previously know. Creation of the new will be predicated on the discovery of what you did not previously know. This will not happen if you cling to the known truths. Revelation cannot come to those who are so certain of what it is they cannot allow for the new to be revealed. Read that again. Revelation cannot come to those who are so certain of what it is they cannot allow for the new to be revealed.
That day.
That day. Did I read it right the first time?
No.
No.
That's why
Or the second time.
This is why I had to read it again. It didn't make sense to me. I'll do it one more time. Let me get it right this time.
Yeah.
Revelation cannot come to those who are so certain of what it is that they cannot allow.
Oh, no.
I did it again, you know.
No,
What is?
No is.
Of what is?
What is?
Okay.
That they cannot allow.
One more time.
Yeah, one more.
Revelation cannot come to those who are so certain of what is that they cannot
Yes.
allow for the new to be revealed. Now it makes sense. No
Yeah.
wonder,
Da-da-da.
no wonder I can't get Revelation. Jesus. Your certainty about what is a false certainty. A learned certainty based on the fear that caused you to order the world according to a set of facts and rules. Oh,
Mm.
be jubilant rather than hesitant about the time of discovery that is before you. Calling what you think you know into question is not a call to return to uncertainty, but a call to allow real certainty to come.
Mm.
Ruben.
If you think of the old as a world in which an attitude of if this, then that rule, and the new as a world in which giving and receiving are one, you will begin to see the enormity of the thought reversal that now awaits. The now awaits your acceptance. As I said earlier, we begin by applying this new attitude to the body. You have been taught that if you take care of the body in certain ways, then good health will result. You have been taught that if your body expends energy, then it will need the refueling provided by food or rest. The list could be endless, but these examples will suffice. This mode of behavior concerning the body were given to teach and to represent. What you have done is turn them into implacable rules you call natural laws. When these natural laws have been shown at times to not apply, you consider this instance flukes or miracles. When a person who has exhibit healthy habits gets sick, you think it is unfair. When a person who has exhibit unhealthy habits gets sick, you think even if you will not say that they did it to themselves or that they could have prevented by abstaining from the unhealthy habits. You might look now at these two attitudes and see that they are somewhat silly, but still you will cling to them because you will believe the person of healthy habits has a greater chance of not getting sick than the person of unhealthy habits. Again, we could go into countless examples of this type of thinking, but the examples matter not except to make you see that these attitudes are not ruled by certainty, but by a mere idea of bettering the odds against what fate may offer. What fate may offer is itself an attitude that puts life at the risk and whim of an external force that has no reality except in your imagination. What is this thing called fate? Like all the systems you believe in, it is a system too. An internal idea, given a name, externalized and blamed for all that you do not understand, all that cannot be made to make sense, all that seems unfair and beyond your control. Thank
you. Thanks, Ruben. Paul.
$21?
Yes.
Yes.
When you remember that we have left blaming behind, oh yeah, you will see anyone remembering that? You will see.
We blame the body so much, don't we? Well, I do.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you remember that we left blaming behind, you will see that belief in fate is just as systematic as the need of being left behind, any need of being left behind, as is believed that illness can be blamed on certain habits.
Oh.
Yeah. This may not be the type of blaming you see as easily as that of blaming a friend for your hurting feelings or blaming the past for the present. Wow, it's amazing, eh? And yet, what reading a mind of ideas of placing blame does is take it one step away from thinking of the if this, then that thought systems, soul systems we are leaving behind. As a non-learning being, you are now called to accept that you no longer need this type of learning device and to recognize that it will no longer serve you well. I think my attachment to these things is a bit excessive. Let us return now to the beginning and start with the body as a given. It is what it is in terms of flesh and bone, and it is also the form that is now serving to represent the truth of who you are. How might this change the laws of the body, the laws you gave the body in the time of learning, knowing not that the design of the body represented?
Of what the design?
Thank you.
I'm the word Nazi.
Yeah, thank you for your cooperation. Without you, we will rewrite this book into our own projections. And what might the body design now represent?
Oh.
The first example of the body we represented newly was that
not represented.
Yeah, I'm trying to rewrite this whole thing. The first
Yes.
example of the body we presented newly was that of the perfect design of the joining provided through sexual intercourse, a design given to lead the way to desire for someone and completion.
That's a classic. Classic.
A classic, isn't it?
Desire for oneness.
Not someone.
Yeah,
Classic ego, wasn't it? Yeah.
beautiful.
Ah, so good. Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God.
Mm.
Ah. Yes, you complete me. Oh my God.
Let me make
Mhm.
okay, who's next?
Sam?
We have talked of but one replacement for the pattern of learning, the pattern of acceptance. What might the body be called to accept? This is an easy answer, as we have already called upon the body to accept the indwelling of Christ.
Ah,
You have replaced the personal self, the self of learning, with the true self. You have accepted your true identity. How could the body now be the same as it once was? The body was, in the time of learning, representative of learning being. The ego, however, narrowed your ideas of what the body was here to learn to ideas of survival. You thus learned to survive rather than to live.
wow.
Mm.
You increase the lifespan of a human being, but you increased not its capacity for true living or true learning.
Oh, man.
And with the extended lifespan came extended reasons for fear and a physical form that you came to believe needed greater and greater resources to maintain.
Mm.
The body is now the embodiment of the true self, the embodiment of love, the embodiment of divinity.
Beautiful.
Its existence is given as it was always given.
Mhm.
But now, the very nature of its existence has changed. I say changed here because you may remember that change occurs in time. Outside of time and form, yourself has always existed in the perfect harmony in which it was created. Now that yourself was joined, the elevated self, now that yourself has joined the elevated self of form, you exist together both in time and outside of time. Remember, the elevated self of form will never be all that you are.
Mm.
This does not imply, however, that there are portions of your self missing from this new experience in form you now enter into. But the elevated self of form is now able to join with the self in the unity of shared consciousness. You are whole once again, and your form will merely represent one aspect of your wholeness in the field of time.
Mm.
Is it me again?
No, it's back to Anthea.
Oh.
It's Kim.
I thought I was
It's
up
Kim.
to.
Yeah, Kim didn't read.
Oh, yeah. All my pictures are moved around here. Sorry, Kim. Yep.
Oh, all right. The self of form, as form, could never truly experience the all everything that is the natural state of the formless. But the true self cannot cease to experience its natural state, the state of Christ consciousness, sharing in unity, the all of everything. So these two states, the state of form and the state of unity, are both in existence right now. In the state of unity, your true self is fully aware of the elevated self form and is fully participating in its experiences and feelings. The elevated self form, however, being a form that still exists in time, must realize the consciousness of the true self in time. What this means is that the elevated self form may still need time to come to know the changes that only occur in time, although they are already accomplished in unity. That is why we have spoken of miracles and of the collapse of time the miracle is capable of providing. We have redefined the miracle as the art of thought or the continual act of prayer that sustains the unity of Christ consciousness. Form and time go together, yet you have been told time is a measurement of learning. If you are no longer a learning being, for what is time needed? Time is needed now only for the transformation of the self from a learning being to a being that can accept the shared consciousness of unity and begin to discover what this means.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Identify with love. Find yourself. Huh? Watch this.
Mm.
In A Course in Miracles, there's a very cool line that hit me really strong in some way, because, you know, often we have this statement, the body is not real. There is this beautiful line that just came to me with this as well, was that Son of God extends his hand to reach his brother, to help him walk along the road with him. Now is the body holy. Now it serves to heal the mind that it was made to kill. I love that.
Mm.
It's the same in that kind of joining thing.
Mm.
Hey, Shanti. Well, thank you, darlings.
Hey, Anthony, just in time to say goodbye.
Oh, hi, Anthony.
Oh,
Goodbye, everybody.
you're in Queensland. There's a different time there, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, there is too. Oh my God.
Oh, where are you?
In Queensland. I'll show you.
Oh,
Oh
Oh,
my
hang on.
God.
I don't know how to. Look at that. It's all sunny. It's blue skies and sunshine and
Warmth.
How
water.
did you manage to get to the lesson this morning? Because you're in Queensland then too, weren't you?
I don't know. I was just guided.
I think it's the same. When we go. Oh,
Yeah, I should
No,
have come an hour. I don't know what I was doing.
That's all.
Anyway, feel beautiful.
You're out of your natural environment. We
I
understand.
know. It's good. Whoa.
and if anyone know Annie, does anyone know Annie from Oregon? Because she came at 5 o'clock this morning. So
Who?
Annie, Annie from Oregon.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. I don't know how to contact her.
Oh, yeah.
She would. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. All right, darling.
Oh,
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
yeah.
Bye-bye.
thanks, everyone.
We'll be seeing
Yeah.
you in a week.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Don't forget about the daylight savings. So in America.
And tomorrow
That's
we
only.
do your Rancho book at 7:30 after the morning lesson. If anyone resonates with your Rancho book, we're just reading it, having fun.
I won't. I'll be on a plane, but I've been listening to it all week
Well,
in my earphones.
it's
I
so
love it.
amazing. Isn't it?
Oh,
I'll
Oh,
post it to you anyway. I'll post it out. So,
thank you.
all right, darlings.
mm.
Ciao.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. See you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.